If you use Claude every single day, whether that's drafting emails, summarizing documents, or thinking through decisions, this video is going to change how you work. There are three types of people watching right now. The first, you're already in Claude Chat daily. You love it. But you keep hitting the same invisible ceiling. File limits, conversations that lose context, outputs you still have to manually copy and paste somewhere useful. The second, you've heard about Claude Code. Maybe you poked around. But the terminal, the setup, the coding references, it all felt like it was built for engineers, not for you. The third, you know CoWork exists. Maybe you've even opened it. But you're not sure why it's different, or what specifically it can do that Claude Chat can't. I'm going to answer all three today. My name is Maya, and I've been stress testing Claude CoWork for the past few months, breaking it, rebuilding it, and figuring out exactly where it earns its place in a real business workflow. We're covering all 7 core capabilities: local file access, persistent memory, connectors, skills, CoWork projects, the browser extension, and scheduled tasks. I'm going to show you real examples, not toy demos, and I'm going to be honest about what works brilliantly and where CoWork is still catching up. Stick around to the end, because Capability 7 is the one that's quietly compounding value in my workflow every single morning. Let's get into it. Before we get into the 7 capabilities, I want to clear up the 3 differences that actually matter, because I see a lot of confusion here. Difference 1, where your files live. In Claude Chat, everything is cloud-based. You upload files into the conversation window, but there's a hard cap of 20 files and 30 megabytes total. That sounds fine until you're trying to process a full client folder, a year of receipts, or a 400-page PDF. CoWork connects directly to your local file system. No upload limits, no 30-megabyte ceiling, and because it's working locally, your files never leave your machine. Difference 2, what you get back. In Chat, the output lives in the conversation window. You read it, copy it, paste it somewhere, save it yourself. That's not bad, it's just extra steps. In CoWork, the output is the file. A formatted Excel spreadsheet in your Documents folder. A rebuilt PowerPoint saved and ready to open. The work is done, not described. Difference 3, how you prompt. Claude Chat rewards task-first language. Summarize this document. Write me a caption. Find the key points. CoWork rewards outcome-first language. You're not describing what to do, you're describing what done looks like. Define the end result, the format, the quality bar. Then let CoWork execute. I've built a prompt template that converts your chat instincts into CoWork-ready prompts. It's linked in the description as the CoWork prompt template. Grab it before you close this tab. That's the foundation. Now let's build on it. Before you touch a single capability, spend 5 minutes here. It will save you hours of frustration later. Open CoWork and go to Settings. You'll see 2 tabs that look similar but do very different things: General and CoWork. General settings apply globally, across your entire Claude experience. CoWork settings apply only when CoWork is running. Think of CoWork settings as the specific instructions for your AI assistant in this particular workspace. I recommend pasting in what I call starter pack instructions. These are guardrail prompts, essentially standing orders for CoWork. The most important one goes something like this: before deleting, overwriting, or renaming any file, show me the proposed changes and wait for my confirmation. That one line has saved me from several moments I will not describe in detail. The CoWork Starter Pack with the full set of guardrails is linked in the description. It's free. Next, go to the Capabilities tab. Enable both memory features. Leave location off. It's not relevant for most business workflows. For tool access, I recommend leaving it on Load when needed. CoWork will pull in the right tools for each task rather than running everything simultaneously. One last thing, and this trips people up more than anything else. Create a dedicated subfolder in your Documents folder. Call it CoWork Playground or something equally obvious. File access in CoWork is strict. CoWork can only see files inside the folder it has been given permission to access. If your file is one level up or in a different branch of your folder structure, CoWork cannot see it. Keep your working files inside the playground. That's it, you're set up. All right, Capability 1. And this is the one I recommend everyone start with because the results are immediately, obviously useful. CoWork can read, process, and transform local files at a scale Claude Chat simply cannot match. Let me give you 3 real examples. Example 1. I had over 100 receipt images, JPEG and PNG, various formats, some blurry, some clear. I asked CoWork to read every receipt in the folder and create an Excel expense report with columns for date, vendor, category, amount, and a running total. For any receipt it couldn't read clearly, flag the row in red. It produced a formatted spreadsheet with every legible receipt entered correctly, uncertain rows flagged, and a summary total at the bottom. What would have taken me a full afternoon took CoWork about 4 minutes. That's not possible in Claude Chat. The 20-file limit would block it before it even started. Example 2. A 400-megabyte PDF, a full industry report. I asked CoWork to split it into individual chapters and name each file descriptively based on the chapter title. Done. Each chapter became its own file with a clean, searchable name. I could finally navigate the document like a human being. Example 3. This one surprised me. I exported a Notebook LM presentation as a PowerPoint, only to discover every slide was an image. You couldn't edit a single word. I asked CoWork to rebuild it as a proper editable PPTX, recreating the layout and text from the image slides. It rebuilt it. Not pixel perfect, but fully editable and cleanly structured. That's the kind of output that used to require either a VA or an afternoon of manual work. Local file access alone justifies the setup time for most people. But we're just getting started. Capability 2 is where CoWork starts to feel less like a tool and more like a colleague. Here's the honest reality of Claude Chat's memory. It's cloud-based, it has a hard limit, and over time the system compresses older context to make room for new. Important things you told it weeks ago may have quietly disappeared. CoWork's memory is different. It stores to local markdown files, unlimited size, unlimited history, and it persists across sessions without degradation. Let me explain how memory works in the simplest possible way. You know how in Breaking Bad, Heisenberg knew exactly who he was, what he stood for, and how he operated. In every scene, from episode 1 through the finale? That's persistent memory. Claude Chat is more like a character who wakes up each morning with helpful instincts, but no specific history. CoWork is Heisenberg. Here's a practical demo. I opened a completely fresh CoWork session, no prior context loaded, and asked, "How many newsletter editions have we done?" CoWork pulled from its memory file and answered with the exact count in the topics covered. That's not magic. That's a well-maintained memory file doing its job. Here's a try-it-yourself exercise. Take a meeting transcript, any meeting. Paste it into CoWork and ask for a summary. Then edit the summary yourself, shorten it, change the tone, move things around. Then ask CoWork, compare your version to mine. Figure out what I changed. Save those preferences to my Claude.md and memory.md files so you remember them going forward. CoWork will analyze your edits, articulate what you changed and why, and save those as standing preferences for every future summary. Those 2 files, Claude.md and memory.md, are the keys to the whole system. Everything CoWork knows about how you work, what you prefer, and what you've done together lives in those files. Treat them well. Capability 3 is what takes CoWork from a powerful local tool to a connected workspace. Here's how to set it up. Go to Customize, then Connectors, then the plus button, and then Browse. You'll see a growing list of integrations. At minimum, I'd recommend connecting Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and Notion to start. These 4 cover the majority of where real business information actually lives. Now let me show you what becomes possible. Example 1, Single Connector. I ask CoWork, Read my sent emails from the past month. Identify the patterns in how I write, my tone, sentence structure, the way I open and close messages, and save those as writing style principles in my memory file. What came back was surprisingly accurate. It caught things I didn't even realize I was doing consistently, like how I tend to front-load context before asking for something. Those principles now live in my memory file, and CoWork applies them anytime I ask it to draft on my behalf. Example 2. Two connectors working together. I had a meeting transcript stored in Google Drive and the official meeting notes in Notion. I asked CoWork to read both, cross-reference them, and surface any action items that were discussed in the transcript but didn't make it into the Notion notes. It found 4 items. 3 of them were genuinely important. That's not a productivity trick, that's a reliability upgrade. One more thing worth mentioning. CoWork also supports MCP, Model Context Protocol, which is the framework for building custom connectors to tools that aren't on the default list. We'll cover MCP in a dedicated future video. Capability 4 is the one that most people sleep on, and it's probably the highest leverage thing in the entire system. Skills are saved workflows, custom capabilities you build once and reuse on demand. Let me show you the simple version first. I had a block of text that was cluttered and meandering. I pasted it in and asked CoWork, "Make this clearer and more concise." It rewrote it. Tighter sentences, cleaner logic, about 30% shorter. I liked the output. So I told CoWork, "Turn what you just did into a skill." It created a skill.md file, a structured prompt template capturing exactly how it approached that rewrite. Now I can apply that same logic to any piece of text with a single click. That's the simple path. You don't engineer the skill. You do the actual work, get an output you like, then reverse engineer it into a reusable process. That's the key insight. 3 important notes before the complex demo. Note 1. Before any of this works, you need to enable Skill Creator by Anthropic. Go to Customize, then Skills, and enable it here. Note 2. After you update a skill, click Copy to overwrite the old version. And back it up to Google Drive. Skills are stored locally. They do not transfer to a new machine automatically. Note 3. The most important one, do not use the built-in skill wizard to create skills from scratch. Go through the real workflow, get the output right, iterate until it's exactly what you want, then ask CoWork to reverse engineer it into a skill. That's how you get a skill that actually works reliably. Here's what the skill building process looks like at a higher level of complexity, because this is where it gets genuinely powerful for business owners. Imagine you have 3 team members. Every week, each one sends you a status update, but in completely different formats, completely different structures. Your job? Combine them into one clean report for leadership or for your own review. I dropped 3 rough weekly updates into CoWork and asked it to merge them into one consolidated report. My specs: 3 top-line metrics, 3 highlights, 3 lowlights, under 300 words, output as a PDF. The first attempt was close, but not quite right. I gave feedback, adjusted the metric labels, restructured the lowlights. 3 rounds of iteration. By the 3rd version, it was exactly what I wanted. Then I said, create a weekly report skill from our entire conversation. CoWork went back through everything: the original prompt, my feedback, my corrections, the final format, and distilled it into a skill.md. Then it tested the skill against a fresh set of updates to make sure it produced consistent output. To install it, you copy the skill.md into your CoWork skills folder. One action. Now that workflow runs on command. Next week, I drop in 3 new updates and run the skill. Same structure, same format, same PDF. No reprompting. The point here is not the report. The point is that you just packaged a multi-step editorial judgment call into a repeatable process. Build it once, use it indefinitely. Capability 5 is quick to explain, but meaningfully different from what you might expect. CoWork projects work the same way as Claude Chat projects on the surface. You create a project, give it a name, add instructions and context files, and work within it over time. The big difference is what happens under the hood. In a chat project, if you want to update the knowledge base, add a new principle, remove an outdated one, you have to do it manually. Delete the old file. Upload the new one. Repeat every time anything changes. In a CoWork project, the project writes directly to its own knowledge files. No manual steps. No file juggling. Let me make this concrete. I have a writing project I call Clarity Partner. It's my personal editorial assistant. After a session where we work through a piece together, Claude identifies something new about my style. I wanted to add a new principle. When explaining a concept, always lead with an example before the definition. In a chat project, I would type that principle, re-upload the whole document, delete the old version. In the CoWork project, I just told CoWork the new principle and asked it to add it to my instruction file. It wrote the update directly. Done. Over time, your CoWork projects become genuinely intelligent about how you like to work, because they're accumulating precise, clean updates instead of a pile of re-uploads. That compounding quality difference matters more than it sounds. Capability 6, the browser extension. And I'm going to be straightforward with you here, because I think honest information is more useful than a polished demo. The concept is great. CoWork hands off tasks to the browser extension, which then takes actions in your browser on its behalf, navigating pages, filling forms, extracting data, and reports back so CoWork can decide what to do next. In practice, as of right now, there are 3 things worth knowing. First, it's slow. Every action requires a screenshot to be sent back to CoWork before the next step can happen. Filling out a 5-field form can take 4 minutes. Second, it's unreliable. It stops mid-task with some frequency. You'll come back to find CoWork waiting for you to reorient it, or having abandoned the task entirely. Third, it burns through your usage limit. The extension tends to overthink browser interactions, which means it's spending tokens on steps that feel like they should take a second. Here's an interesting irony. Claude Chat currently gives you more reliable web search control than CoWork does right now. In Chat, you can explicitly toggle web search on or off. In CoWork, you can't force it. And when it tries to use the web, it defaults to the extension, which is where the friction starts. This isn't a deal breaker, and it's likely to improve. But as of today, the browser extension is the weakest of the 7 capabilities. Use it for low-stakes, patient tasks, not for anything time-sensitive. Capability 7. And this is the one I mentioned at the top. The one that's quietly compounding value in my workflow every single morning. Scheduled tasks aren't new. Gemini has them. ChatGPT has them. But here's what's different about CoWork's version, and why it's the one that actually works. Every other tool's scheduled tasks are essentially smart reminders. They can send you a message, maybe pull one source of data. CoWork's scheduled tasks are powered by everything we've covered in the last 6 capabilities. Local file access, persistent memory, connectors, skills, all of it running on a timer. That's not a scheduling feature. That's an autonomous workflow engine. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. I have a scheduled task that runs every morning at 6 a.m. Here's the sequence. Step 1. Gmail connector reads every new email that arrived overnight. Step 2. CoWork maps those emails against my inbox 0 rules, which are saved in my Claude.md file. Step 3. Memory.md provides weeks of accumulated context. My signature style, my tone preferences, which senders I respond to quickly, how I handle requests I want to defer. Step 4. CoWork produces a morning report and a set of drafted replies. Not full replies, but replies that are about 85% ready to send. I open my laptop and there it is. Every morning. Now here's the part I want to sit on for a second, because it's the thing that surprised me most. The first week I ran morning inbox triage, it was useful, maybe 70% accurate. Some categories were off. The drafted replies occasionally missed my tone. I gave feedback, I corrected it, I updated my Claude.md with more specific rules. By week 2, it was running at something closer to 90%, not because I kept manually correcting it, because the system was accumulating my feedback into its memory and applying it automatically to the next session. That's the compound effect of CoWork. Every correction makes the next output better. Every preference you add to Claude.md narrows the gap between what it produces and what you actually want. Over weeks and months, you're not just using an AI tool, you're building a system that gets progressively more accurate about how you specifically work. And that's the insight I want to leave you with before we close out. The businesses that win with AI over the next 3 years are not going to win because they use the most powerful model. They're going to win because they built the best systems. CoWork is, right now, the best system building tool at this price point for non-technical entrepreneurs. That's not hype, that's what I found in the work. Here's what I want you to actually do with everything we just covered. You do not have to implement all 7 capabilities today. In fact, please don't. You'll overwhelm yourself and close the tab forever. Start with 3 things. Step 1. Set up CoWork with the starter pack guardrails and create your CoWork Playground folder. That's your foundation. Step 2. Run one local file access task. Pick the messiest folder on your computer, receipts, meeting notes, research PDFs, and ask CoWork to do something useful with it. Let your first win be a real win. Step 3. Use outcome-first prompting. Every time you're about to type a task-first prompt, pause. Describe what done looks like instead. Use the CoWork prompt template in the description to train the habit. From there, layer in memory, then connectors, then skills, in that order. Each one builds on the last. All the resources are in the channel description below, the CoWork starter pack and the prompt template. In the channel description, you will also find links to a couple of my free products that you will find extremely helpful. Number 1 is my free AI automation framework guide. This resource covers the basics I teach my clients to bring AI automation to scale in their work life. This is a very handy tool, so grab it today. Again, it is totally free. And number 2 is my AI subscription leak detector. I built this free tool to help people identify where they might be overspending on their AI subscriptions. It's a cool tool, so have fun with it, as you should definitely check it out. If you found today's video to be useful, please subscribe to the channel as we publish videos here every week on AI tools, systems, and strategies for entrepreneurs who want to build with AI, not just experiment with it. So, as we wrap up today, please let me know in the comments, which of these 7 core capabilities did you find most useful today and why? Leave your answers in the comments below, as I read every single one. Now, if there's a specific capability you want me to go deeper on, memory, connectors, scheduled tasks, drop it in the comments as well. I read them and it shapes what we build next. Thanks again for sticking with me through this end of this video. And until next time, keep learning and keep building.